My son, listen carefully to what I am going to tell you now, because these words come at a precise moment, at an instant when perhaps you did not expect to receive something like this, but where there is something inside you that made you stop and pay attention. And that is not a coincidence. Today I want you to hear this clearly. Only you can see this sign. Do not let it pass you by. Yes, you, not everyone, not just anyone, meluj, you. Because I want you to understand something very important. There are moments in life when signs appear that are not evident to everyone, signs that go unnoticed by many, but are visible to those who are prepared to perceive them. And you are here for a reason. Perhaps you were doing something and you stopped. Perhaps you felt curious without knowing why. There may have been something that caught your eye, and it wasn't a coincidence. Because I want you to remember something very important. When a sign is personal, it is also specific. It comes at the right time when your mind is ready to listen and your heart is ready to understand. Perhaps you have been waiting for an answer. Perhaps you have been searching for direction. Perhaps you have been longing for confirmation, and today you are faced with a sign. Because I want you to understand something very important. Not all people perceive the same thing. Not everyone understands what others feel, and not everyone is attentive to the details that herald a change. Perhaps others have gone through this moment without noticing it. Perhaps others have ignored similar signs. Perhaps others have not paid attention. But you are here, and that has meaning. Because I want you to remember something very important. When a sign appears and someone decides to pay attention to it, they are also taking a step towards something new, a step towards an answer, a step towards an opportunity, a step towards a change. Perhaps right now you do not know exactly what this sign means. Perhaps you still have doubts. Perhaps you wonder what is coming. But I want you to hear this clearly. When a sign is important, it is first perceived before it is fully understood. It is first felt, first recognized, first accepted, and then it is revealed. Because I want you to understand something else. This signal doesn't come to confuse you. It comes to wake you up, to make you aware of something that is happening and that needs your attention. Maybe you've been distracted. Maybe you've been focused on other things. Maybe you hadn't paid attention to certain details. Maybe you hadn't made you stop. Something made you stop. Something made you stay. And that's part of the signal. Because I want you to remember something very important. When a signal is ignored, the opportunity to understand what it was announcing is also lost. But when a signal is heeded, it also opens the door to what is to come. Maybe right now you are feeling something inside you, a curiosity, an unease, a feeling that this is not by chance. And if that is happening, don't ignore it, don't minimize it, don't dismiss it, because I want you to hear this clearly. This signal is not for everyone. It is for those who decide to pay attention, and you are paying attention, but there is still much more that you need to understand. Because when a sign is real, it is also accompanied by others that confirm it, that make it clearer, and that show more precisely what is about to happen. Signs that are repeated, shida, signs that are strengthened, shida, signs that you cannot ignore. And that is what we will reveal now, Mao, but this is not over yet. My son, continue listening carefully, because now I am going to show you what the signs will be that will confirm that this is not a coincidence, that what you are perceiving is not something casual, and that what is about to happen in your life has already begun to manifest in ways that perhaps you had not yet recognized. Because I want you to understand something very important. When a sign is real, it does not come alone. It is accompanied by others that reinforce it, that confirm it, and that make it increasingly evident that something important is happening. The first sign will be an increase in your sensitivity to what you are experiencing. An inner change that makes you perceive details that you did not notice before. Perhaps you begin to notice small things, small coincidences, small moments that catch your attention. Maybe before they went unnoticed, maybe before you didn't give them any importance, but now you're starting to see them clearly. And that will be a sign, a sign that you're beginning to perceive what others don't see. Because I want you to remember something very important. Another sign will be when you start to notice that certain thoughts are repeating themselves in your mind more frequently. Thoughts that don't come to confuse you, but to focus you. Maybe an idea appears over and over again. Maybe a direction begins to form. Maybe a feeling insists inside you, and that's not a coincidence. It's a sign. A sign that something is trying to get your attention, because I want you to understand something very important. Another sign will be when you start to notice that unexpected situations start to align. Maybe you meet someone at just the right time. Maybe you receive information when you need it the most. Maybe something happens that seems too precise to be coincidence. And when that happens, remember, this is no coincidence, it's a sign. It's a sign that what you're experiencing has purpose. Because I want you to remember something very important. Another sign will be when you begin to notice that you feel an inner restlessness that you can't ignore. A feeling that compels you to pay attention, a feeling that makes you stop. A feeling that makes you think that something is happening. Maybe you don't know exactly what it means, maybe you don't fully understand what's coming, but you feel like you can't ignore it, and that will be a sign, a signal that you need to stay alert, because I want you to understand something else. Another sign will be when you begin to notice that what used to seem normal is now starting to feel different. Maybe everyday situations change. Maybe conversations take on a different meaning. Maybe simple moments take on a different meaning, and that's not a coincidence, it's a sign, a signal that something is changing. Because I want you to remember something very important. When these signs start to appear together, there also comes a time when you need to keep your attention awake and your mind open. A time when you decide to observe, a time when you decide to reflect, a time when you decide not to ignore what's happening. Maybe right now you're already noticing some of these signs. Maybe you're already seeing coincidences that you didn't see before. Perhaps you are already feeling that something different is happening in your life. And if that is happening, do not ignore it, do not minimize it, do not dismiss it, because I want you to hear this clearly. When several signs point in the same direction, they also confirm that something important is about to happen. Every detail adds up, every coincidence confirms, every sensation guides, and that may be exactly what is happening with you right now. But there is still something else that you need to hear, something that will help you recognize the visible manifestations that will confirm that what you are perceiving is not only real, but that it has already begun to show itself clearly. Because when something is about to happen, it also leaves visible traces. Traces that you can recognize, traces that you can understand, traces that confirm that you are not imagining anything. And that is what we will reveal now, but this is not over yet. My child, continue listening carefully, because now I am going to show you how to recognize the visible manifestations that will confirm that what you are perceiving is not an idea, it is not an illusion, and it is not something fleeting, but a real process that has already begun to unfold in your life. Because I want you to understand something very important. When something important begins to move, it does not remain hidden for long. It is reflected in concrete changes, in situations that begin to transform, and in results that previously seemed distant. It will be seen in what changes, achas. It will be seen in what advances, achas. It will be seen in what previously seemed stagnant, and now begins to move. Perhaps for a long time you thought that everything would remain the same. Perhaps you imagined that change would take too long. Perhaps you felt that you were waiting without seeing results. But I want you to hear this clearly. When something begins to develop, the changes begin to become visible. Because I want you to remember something very important. One of the first visible manifestations will be when that which seemed blocked begins to move forward. Perhaps there was an answer that did not arrive. Perhaps there was an opportunity that seemed distant. Perhaps there was a situation that seemed stopped. But now you will begin to notice movement. Anna, you will begin to see progress. Anna, you will begin to feel that things are beginning to align. And when that happens, remember, this is not a coincidence. When it is a sign. Sign that what you are perceiving is real. Because I want you to understand something very important. Another visible manifestation will be when you begin to notice that opportunities are arriving that were not there before. Maybe a conversation will open a path. Maybe a person will bring a solution. Maybe a possibility will appear at exactly the right moment. And when that happens, remember, this is not a coincidence. It is a sign, a signal that something important has already begun. Because I want you to remember something very important. Another visible manifestation will be when you begin to notice that your spirits are beginning to strengthen. Maybe before you felt tired. Maybe before you thought that you couldn't continue. Maybe before you imagined that the effort was not worth it. But now you will begin to feel a new energy. You will begin to feel a different drive. You will begin to feel that you can move forward with greater confidence, and that will be a sign, a signal that the process is active. Because I want you to understand something else. Another visible manifestation will be when you begin to notice that your worries are beginning to lose strength. Maybe before you were constantly thinking about the negative. Maybe before you imagined difficult scenarios. Maybe before you felt constant fear. But now you will begin to feel relief. You will begin to feel calm. You will begin to feel that the weight begins to decrease, and that will be a sign, a sign that something is changing. Because I want you to remember something very important. Another visible manifestation, it will be when you begin to notice that you are receiving answers that bring clarity to your life. Maybe news that you were waiting for. Maybe a solution that seemed distant. Maybe a confirmation that changes your outlook. And when that happens, remember, this is not a coincidence. It is a sign a signal that what is coming has already begun to show itself. Because I want you to understand something very important. When these visible manifestations begin to appear, the moment also comes when you need to keep your faith and your attention awake. A moment when you decide to recognize the changes. A moment when you decide to value the progress. A moment when you decide to trust that what began will continue to grow. Maybe right now you are already beginning to notice small changes. Maybe you are already seeing clear signs. Maybe you are already feeling that something different is happening. If that is happening, do not ignore it. Do not minimize it. Do not dismiss it. Because I want you to hear this clearly. When something important begins, it transforms reality and changes the course of what is to come. It transforms your uncertainty into direction. It transforms your waiting into progress. It transforms your doubt into clarity. And now you are approaching that moment when you need to seal this word with a firm decision within your heart. The moment when you decide to believe, hulal, the moment when you decide to act, the moment when you decide not to let this sign pass you by. But there is still something else that you need to hear, something that will seal this word and declare that you are ready to fully receive what is beginning in your life. Because when a sign is heeded, it also opens the door to the outcome. And that is what we will do now. But this is not over yet. My son, now listen with all your heart, because this is the moment when you need to understand that not all opportunities come in an obvious way. Not all signs are understood by everyone, and not everyone is prepared to recognize that which can change their life. But you are here, and that is not by chance, because I want you to understand something very important. There were times when you were searching for answers, times when you desired clarity, and times when you needed direction to know where to move forward. Maybe you felt confused, and maybe you hesitated. Maybe you thought you didn't know what to do, but today you are facing a sign. A sign that did not come by accident. A sign that did not appear by mistake. A sign that needs your attention. Because I want you to remember something very important. When a sign is ignored, the opportunity to move forward towards what it was announcing is also lost. When a sign is heeded, a new path also opens up. A path that can lead you to something better. A path that can bring you answers. A path that can change your reality. Maybe right now you don't fully understand what this sign means. Maybe you still have doubts. Maybe you wonder what's coming, but I want you to hear this clearly. You don't need to understand everything to make the decision not to let go of what you are perceiving, because I want you to understand something more. Now is the time when you need to let go of the indecision that was holding you back. Let go of the fear that made you doubt. Let go of the habit of ignoring what you feel. Maybe in the past, you let opportunities pass you by. Maybe you ignored important signs. Maybe you thought it wasn't the right time. But I want you to hear this clearly. This time is different because now you are aware, because I want you to remember something very important. Now is the time when you need to make a firm decision within your heart. A decision that says you choose to pay attention. A decision that says you choose to move forward. A decision that says you choose not to let this signal pass you by. Maybe you see, you can't control everything that will happen. Maybe you can't see the whole outcome, and maybe you don't have all the answers, but you can decide not to ignore what you are feeling. You can decide to stay attentive. You can decide to take the next step, because I want you to understand something very important. Now is the time when you need to seal this word with an inner action, an action that does not depend on the external but on your decision. Your decision to believe, aim. Your decision to move forward, aim. Your decision to receive. That is why I want to invite you to do something special right now. Take a deep breath for a moment. Do it slowly. Allow your mind to calm down. Allow your heart to focus. Allow your inner self to prepare to make a decision. And as you breathe, think of all the times you ignored what you felt. Think of the opportunities you missed. Think of the moments when you hesitated. And now decide that this time will be different, and repeat these words firmly within yourself. I will not let this sign pass you by. Repeat it again. I am ready to move forward. And once again, I receive what is beginning. Allow those words to take root and become a firm decision within the depths of your heart. Allow them to become a sign that you choose to act. Allow them to become the beginning of a new path. And now I want to pray with you. A special prayer that I will not let this sign pass me by. Father, at this moment I present this life before you. You know every doubt I have had, every moment when I did not know what decision to make, and every instant when I needed clarity. Today I ask that you give me the discernment to recognize this sign and the courage to not ignore it. Remove all confusion that tries to stop you and allow you to move forward with confidence. Open paths where you previously saw no way out and allow each step you take to bring you closer to what you have prepared. Thank you, because starting today, a time of direction, clarity, and progress begins. Amen. And now listen to me carefully. This is the moment when you decide not to let pass what can change your story. If you decide to pay attention to this signal, write these words right now. I will not let it pass. Write it firmly, law. Write it with determination. Write it believing that you are taking an important step and I want you to do something more. If you decide to move forward with confidence, also write, I am ready, as a sign that you choose to act. And if you know someone who tends to ignore important signals, share it right now, because it could be the instrument that awakens someone at just the right time. Because, remember this from today, the signal appeared, the decision is yours, and what comes next will depend on what you do now. M.